Hey guys, my name is Dave Sarabia, and welcome to Environment Sketching with 3D Primitives for the Foundation Group. A little bit about me: I'm a concept artist at Scrollpad Studios and a teacher at Brainstorm School. If you want to get to know me a bit better, you can follow me on social media, and if you want to learn more, you can take my classes at Brainstorm School and check out my other tutorials in the Foundation Group. In this tutorial, we are going to create a sci-fi shanty building using a structured process to help kickstart your concept into refined line drawing. Before we start drawing, it's always good to have a plan and strategy. It's like having a GPS with no destination. You could get lost, run in circles, start guessing. It's a lot of time being wasted. So having tangible steps will help you set up in making clear decisions when designing. The way how I like to start is by listing categories. And in this topic, I broke it down into two categories. Number one, we got the shanty building, and the other, supporting props. And within these two categories, I broke it down into keywords. For the shanty building, we have walls, doors, windows, pipes, signs, and for the supporting props, we got lamps, sidewalk, steam, vents, and debris. The more keywords you have, the better. It's going to help you identify what you need, what is missing, and what you need to find. Now that we have identified our goal, let's go ahead and start gathering our references. And let's place all our references into one board. And as you can see, I separated my references into different categories. We got real life, art, and a Kickstart reference. For real life reference, I like to look at photos that hit that checklist that we just made earlier. And the fewer the photos that captures all those keywords, even better. Because sometimes overwhelming your reference board with a lot of images could actually distract you from your goal. And you could be very indecisive in your decision making. So having less references is actually sometimes better. And for the art reference, I like to look at the way how these artists group their complex details and their simple areas. I'm also looking at the way how they're using their rhythm and how they're leading their eye. So this is a really good way to break down their art and influence it in your design. And for the Kickstart reference, this is going to help you start your concept. There's times that, we're stuck and we don't know what to draw, and looking at your blank canvas could be really intimidating. So having this Kickstart reference would help you jumpstart your idea. And it's a good platform to start drawing and coming up with your sketches. And it could be any object. It could be like a printer, a stapler, a clock, and just relying on that anomaly, it could help you break away from your real life reference and your art reference, therefore creating a more unique design. And now that we have a reference prepared and we know where our direction is, this is where we can start drawing. All right, so now I have Photoshop open and I've created a 17 by 11 canvas. And before we really started getting into sketching, I want to show you guys what kind of brush I'm using. It's really simple. I'm actually just using a hard round brush, and what I'm gonna go ahead and do is go to brush settings, and right over here on this box I'm gonna squash the ellipse down, or this circle down, to make an ellipse, and I'm gonna go ahead and tilt that 45 degrees. And then if you notice, it kind of gives this like marker pen type of look, and that is what we're trying to go for this. But when I'm drawing, I actually like to stay within the 3 to 5 pixel range. So over here we could see on the top left, 3 is normally where I like to start off with. And it kind of already feels like that gel pen type of look. And then if you want to have like a thicker line, I normally just end it at a 5. So now we know what tool we're going to use. Let's go ahead and create another canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and grab our Kickstart reference. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring them over. Just going to go ahead and transform these. Just going to lay them out. I'm just going to merge them and go ahead and drop that opacity. I'm going to go ahead and do a breakdown. So I'm going to quickly just draw right on top of the reference. And I'm just going to break it into like very simple shapes. You know, I'm not going in there and I'm not trying to, you know, draw in the little bolts. I'm not trying to draw like every single detail. I'm just looking at the overall shape, these big volumetric shapes. See, I'm not worried about like the cut lines or anything like that. I'm just seeing like how this shape right here is being, this darker shape is being set into the body right over here. So I'm just paying attention to that. And that's what I consider a breakdown. And see, notice how like my lines over here are not completely, I guess, perfect. And that's totally fine. Because the whole idea is not to create like a beautiful illustration right now. Right now, we're just purely breaking down this object, and we're seeing like how, you know, this cube, for example, if we were to break it down even simpler, we're just seeing how this black shape right here is hugging around this box, if you will. And just knowing that idea of like, oh, okay, it's this shape versus this shape, you know, and just seeing the relationship in that. And then we could also find another third shape, which is this piece right here. So it's like 3 pieces that we could break it down to. So I'm going to go ahead and continue this. I'm going to completely ignore all those details, and I'm just going to simplify it into like just this box. I'm going to simplify that into a box as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue on the next one. Just looking at how this frame goes around and how it turns. I find that really interesting how it cuts right here. It turns at a 45 right here, but then this shape right here is like flush against the main body. And it's really cool doing these breakdowns because I'm actually seeing a lot of things that I normally wouldn't see just at a glance at this reference. So it's really nice to even just do these little breakdown studies. Kind of gives you an idea of how things are being built. Like I'm not worrying about those buttons right there. To me, I think those are too small to really focus on. Too much detail. And even at this phase, this blocking out phase, I'm like squinting my eyes and I'm just trying to see like what are the core shapes. Because when I squint my eyes, and it kind of helps me blur out all the details so I could just focus on the main shapes. And again, I'm not spending too much time on this. And for this one, I really like the silhouette on how this is portraying, where it's like 3 faces. I really like that. So as you're breaking down these props, like you should also kind of like pick and choose what you like about this prop. Like what speaks to you, and that is something that you could carry on into your design. And it could just be like what I said earlier, like, oh, I just like this silhouette, or I like the way how these faces shift, or it could be like this handle. I like this handle because it creates like this negative shape. So yeah, just constantly like talk to yourself on, or asking yourself why you like a certain shape, or why you like this overlap or negative shape, for example. Because the more questions you ask, the closer you'll find your answer to your design. All right, cool. So now that we did a breakdown, let's go ahead and start loose sketching. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this up. And then I'm just gonna start using our breakdown sketches. And I have my reference on the other screen, and I'm constantly looking at my reference to see like what kind of shapes I could grab from. You know, like, and I'm just seeing like how we could form this building. I'm constantly also looking at like scale, and maybe I'll like quickly add some quick, you know, scale elements here and there, just to establish what that is. Like, is a person this big, and then this whole building is like this huge like tower? And I'm also like just using these techniques where I could just duplicate certain areas and just like reuse the shapes. You know, I'm like adding some rooftop elements. Because like my main goal is to really change up that silhouette. I'm constantly squinting my eyes. I'm like almost treating it as like you would to go about like a painting, for example. It's pretty similar. You're still using those similar techniques that would help you just focus on what's important. Because right now I'm not, whatever's inside of this this sketch, it's not so important. But just seeing the silhouette and having a unique silhouette would definitely like give your design more life. Okay, so that'll be the first one. And notice that I'm not spending that much time on any of this. Like, these are just super loose, rough sketches. Trying to see if I can extend it the other way. And again, I want to like establish that scale. I want to know immediately, how big is this structure? Maybe we could add some sidewalks, you know, like going back to our keyword list, our checklist. Like, what if we could like play around with this guy a little bit more? Maybe like double him up. Or even triple it. And for this rough phase, I actually like to draw pretty small. And what I mean by that is like, I'm zooming out, trying to not get too fixated on the details. And again, like looking at your reference, seeing what worked, what you like about your reference. Because right now, when I'm looking at my reference, I like how a lot of detail is being focused on the floor, this chunk of area. And it makes sense, right? Because there's a lot of, like, if you think about the environment itself, a lot of traffic comes through. There's a lot of people that walk by. So you're going to see a lot of weathering and just things being changed, especially on the floor, on the base of the building. And maybe when we come up closer to the top, you're going to see less of it. I'm trying to see, like, maybe we could make this silhouette a little bit more interesting. I want to break this up. I want to make sure that we're still portraying this as a bigger building. So I'm going to add little tinier elements to show scale. And again, just keeping it loose, All right, that's sketch number 2. I want to do something different for this one. I want to see how it looks like if I go a little bit more horizontal. Seeing how those shapes work. gonna shrink that down. Gonna go ahead and just grab a portion of that. Let me adjust the size. Have it like, think about like maybe we could do like an asymmetrical type of thing. And I'm constantly looking back at what works in our reference, and what are the things you like about your reference that you want to implement in your design. So like right now, I'm liking these repetitions, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So add that in. And it's fine if at first it doesn't look like it's working, because in this phase we definitely just want to, I guess, like fall forward, right? It's good to get all those, like, you know, bad designs out of the way so you can get to the good ones. Yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of that proportion. I think that the proportion was getting too even, so I'm gonna, what I just did was I just moved this up, and then I'm just gonna make, you know, I think I could probably like repeat that. I do feel like the top is a little bit too, how do you say, like too detailed. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to combat that and add more details on the bottom, more density on the bottom. Maybe this could be like a sign or something. Again, just squinting my eyes, looking for good silhouette opportunities, silhouette pops. Okay, spending a little bit too long on that one. Should move on. And generally, I like to do like 6 sketches, 6 rough sketches. So I'll do like 2 rotations of these. Let's see. Yeah, this part seems really interesting to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that. I'm like thinking, okay, maybe those could be like the rooms. And honestly, it kind of looks like a generator, like a sci-fi generator. But that is what's so cool about this, is that because it's so loose, it can actually be a lot of things. And that's why this kind of process could be applied to anything. It's getting hard for me to see my drawing, so I'm going to go ahead and move these away. Trying to see if I could just break some of these up, some of the silhouette up. And again, I'm not worrying about the fidelity of this line drawing. Like it's really messy, really messy. But it is a good way to kind of just loosen up and not really worry about, oh, if this looks good or not. It's really just to get the idea going. And we could worry about like finessing this drawing later on. And remember guys, like always look at your reference. Yeah, I'm still deciding if I wanted that handle or not. But I think we could just make it work. I'm gonna go ahead and add like more silhouette pops. And a street lamp for scale. Okay. Go ahead and move this guy over here. I'm gonna try to do it like a wider version of this one. I'm gonna go a little bit more horizontal. I think one was enough. grab this shape. Then maybe I could, extend this down. And again, I'm just squinting my eyes, just seeing like what shapes work. Looking over my reference, seeing what I could add or take away. It's like pushing in that silhouette. No, see, I didn't like that because it was, first of all, it was like tangenting this outer shape, but it's also kind of ruining that silhouette. So that's why I took that out. Yeah, making sure that, you know, just because we're adding, you know, maybe silhouette breaks, sometimes it doesn't work, and it's best to just leave the existing silhouette alone. But you always got to try. You always got to try first to see if it works. I'm gonna add back that handle shape. I like that. But also we need to make sure that it doesn't look like a handle. So maybe these could look, maybe this is like a vent system. And the moment we add smaller shapes on top of it, now it doesn't start to look like a toy, or it starts to look like it's in the right scale. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. So off the bat, I'm just gonna, again, focus on that scale, establish that scale early on. And the reason why I'm establishing scale early on, so I could remind myself what I need to focus, right? Because if I don't establish my scale right away, I'm probably gonna start making or creating shapes that don't belong in this context. So I want to quickly establish that, okay, you know, human size is right around there. So when I start making other shapes, it's gonna match that scale. didn't like what I did there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that. Gonna try to see if I could extend this. Maybe mimic this silhouette as well. We have signs here. Remember, I'm also looking at the grouping of details. I feel like this is way too flat, so I'm gonna go ahead and carve in some shapes. All right, cool. So now we have our 6 sketches, or 6 rough sketches. And at this stage, let's go ahead and choose our favorite one and get ready for 3D modeling. So, I think I'm gonna go with this one right here. And yeah, let's go ahead and open up Blender and let's get into primitive 3D modeling. All right, so now that we have Blender open, let's go ahead and turn off this camera and this light. We don't need them for now. And we're actually going to delete this cube. I want to show you guys something where we could go ahead and create custom geometry. So I'm going to go to edit mode, go to preferences, and then if you slide down, you could find this tab right here that's called add mesh extra objects. So if you check that box, and when you go ahead and make a mesh, now you're gonna have more selections, because without it, you're probably only gonna have up to the torus part. So having that box checked will give you a little bit more options. And we're gonna go ahead and add a single vert. So it's like a single vertex. And I'm gonna go ahead, go on top view, and I'm gonna press 1 and make sure that I'm on the vertex mode in edit mode. I'm gonna start extruding. So I'm gonna hit E for extrude. And then as I'm extruding this, I'm actually focusing on the top shape of our sketch. So on the other screen, I am looking at the sketch that we did. So as I'm looking at the sketch, I'm making sure that I'm hitting like the right proportion. So So I'm gonna go ahead and line this up, pressing X, and then I'm gonna extrude. And I see like this 45 angle going inward, and I'm clicking, and I'm gonna press E again to extrude. It doesn't have to be completely accurate because we could totally fix that as we go. And just remember, guys, this is pure rough modeling. This is straight up just for concept art. I am not a 3D modeler, so this is not like quote unquote proper modeling, but this definitely gets the job done, especially for what we're doing. I don't need that vertex, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab that vertex, hold shift and grab the other one, and then press F, and that's gonna go ahead and connect the lines together. And then from here, I'm actually going to grab all, hit number 2 on top so I can get all the edges, and then press F to fill in. So now we have a plane. And then within this plane, I'm gonna go ahead and hit 3 for faces. I'm gonna hit E, grab the face and hit E and extrude. Nice. So we have our basic shape. And I'm gonna go ahead now and add another insert. So I'm gonna select the whole object, press 2, and then press Control R so I can make an edge loop. I'm gonna make an edge that goes around right over here. Move the 3D cursor a little bit. And actually before that, I want to go back to object mode and make sure that the center point is at object. Go back to edit mode. Gonna hit 3 for face. And then I'm gonna grab this front face because I want to push it in, right? So I'm going to press E and S so I can make that bevel. But when I want to scale it, I want to just only scale it to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and press Y. And I'm trying to get the thickness that I want. Okay, cool. And then press E again. Press X to slide that right in. Awesome. It's looking not too bad. And then now I'm going to go to edit mode. I want to go to 1 for the vertex, and I actually want to go to X-ray mode and wireframe mode. So these 2 buttons right here. And I want to see if I could tilt these vertexes just a little bit, because I see like there's like a slant in our drawing, so I want to see if I could go ahead and capture that. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Go back to solid mode. It's looking good. Okay. So now we have the main body, and let's go ahead and make the side handles. So I'm going to go on side view. I'm going to go ahead and move over this object, our main body. I'm going to hit the X-ray and wireframe. And this is so then I can see through the object. And I'm going to go ahead and make our single vert again. So our single vert's right here. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the vertex mode right here. So just hitting that one if you're not in that mode already. I'm going to press E to extrude. And I'm looking at the handle part of our design. And remember, like, this is going to be really dirty, so you could always go ahead and edit as you please. But this is a good way just to make your basic shape. So I'm pressing X just to align it. I see that there's like a 45, so I'm making that. And then another 45 that comes in. Trying to see if I can line that up as best as I can. I'm going to select these two, press F. I actually don't need this one, so I'm going to go ahead and delete, and then press F. I'm going to set the origin to geometry. So now we kind of have like that handle shape. Oh, totally messed that part up. Okay. That's totally fine, because in edit mode, we could bring that back up or just line it up, and it should just be fine. All right, there you go. And then now let's go ahead and go to edges in our edit mode. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab all the edges, press F to fill, and then go to the faces mode, press E, and then extrude. It doesn't seem too thick, so I'm only just gonna match that width that we already have. I want to check it in solid mode. Okay, looking good. Make sure that origin is set. Nice. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that. And then I'm gonna move this to the other side. And then actually, now that I'm looking at it, I would like this to be more exaggerated. So I'm going to, you know what, go ahead, delete this. I'm gonna go to X-ray mode and wireframe mode. And I'm gonna edit this top part right over here. And see, this is what I mean by, like, you don't have to be completely accurate up front. Sometimes just getting it laid in first is better. Let's see if I can bring this in just a little bit. Because I could see like a little taper. I want to bring these guys down just a tad. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, because I want to bring this other face right behind it, so I want to extend that so we have more room. And also we could go ahead and bring this up. Nice. Cool, cool. Now we could go ahead and duplicate that. And then for this part, I'm going to go ahead and go to edit mode, press K for knife tool. And I'm just going to make an edge on this side. I'm going to make sure that this lines up. And then I'm going to get into the face, grab that first face. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude. So I had to press Y twice just to be on the Y axis. Gonna match that up. Boom, now we have that handle looking shape. Cool. I think it's a little bit too thick, which is fine because we could always edit. So let's go ahead and go to our edit mode Grab the vertexes, scooch it up. All right. Nice, looking so much better. Actually, I don't like how this vertex is misaligned, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab that. I'm just gonna align it. There you go. So it doesn't poke out too much. Great. So in our object mode, I'm just going to go ahead and combine those together. I'm going to grab the body and the handle, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate them. And then combine those together. Duplicate, move them up, and then I'm going to go to the FPS mode. Trying to see if the angle is, if we're getting the nice silhouettes from our angle. Okay. It's not too bad, it's getting there. It's getting there. I'm gonna go ahead and combine those so then we don't have the particles interfering each other, like the geometry interfering with each other. I think what I'm missing from here is the silhouette. Like, I really like the fact that in our drawing we could see the top, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to fix that and bring back this awesome silhouette that we have. I'm gonna go ahead and go to edit mode, grab the vertexes, and then bring them up. So like, even when you're modeling too, it's always good to pay attention to those core fundamentals of silhouette, because everything that we're learning, even in the foundation of drawing, we're always applying it to like any tool that we're using. I want to see if this makes a difference. And to go to first person, I'm using shift and the tilde symbol. All right, see, that is so much better, right? Like now we could see that silhouette pop versus before it was just a flat roof. So this to me looks so much better. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sick. So now that we have our main basic geometry, let's go ahead and mess with the view. So I'm gonna press N for view, and on the top right over here with focal length, we could go ahead and mess with the camera lens. Kind of want to have it a little bit more exaggerated, so we're gonna go with a lower millimeter lens. And the 36 looks pretty good to me. I want to see how close we can get to this without losing our silhouette. So even when I'm taking a photo, I'm looking at our object silhouette. Okay. So we go ahead and try this. I'm going to use my snipping tool. Take a screenshot and then saving this to our folder. It's always good to take more screenshots. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to first person view and just play with the idea of a different viewpoint. And this is close to like how our sketch is. So maybe we could go ahead and take a screenshot of this. And then let's kind of see if maybe a more front view might look good. Like a 3/4 front. Let's see. So I'm still trying to look for that nice silhouette pop. And then maybe we could change the lens, more of like a more on the telephoto side. Okay, let's go ahead and try this. So this is a good way just to have variation, even though you're not going to use all these screenshots, and who knows, you can. But it's always good to have more variety to choose from. I do like how this telephoto is coming out, because it's giving us a chance to see the silhouette clear. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump back into Photoshop and select one of our screen caps, and let's start getting into drawing a texture sheet. Alright, so now that we got Photoshop open, let's go ahead and make a new canvas. 17 by 11. And before we start drawing, let's go ahead and look back at our checklist. This list over here. And it's always good to look back at it because this list would help us keep in line and help us stay on track. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the video. Let's get drawing. All right. So I'm gonna have my 7x11 canvas over here. I'm gonna go ahead and start focusing on the walls. So right now I'm trying to pay attention to the overall the bigger assets or the bigger textures, and I'm just focusing on, okay, what can I reuse the most, and just keeping it simple, just adding the core elements. So like right now I'm thinking about big, medium, and small, and I'm starting from the outside and I'm cutting into these shapes, just adding like the smaller, bigger panels. And right now I'm just repeating some of these details, like these vents. So looking back at the keywords, I'm just adding in just basically just drawing from those keywords from our list. And like right now I'm just adjusting the little divots from each panel. And just finishing it off, making sure that I have the beveled edges, adding little bits, and just duplicating, and it's really cool because I'm actually just trying to make things more efficient. So right now I duplicated that one wall, and I'm just gonna make another wall with the same asset, just to speed up the process. And it's really cool because when you start making a couple, you could actually make even more. So it's like an exponential, like you're designing exponentially. Like right now I'm thinking of, oh, what if this panel could have some sort of, piping. And again, right now I'm just thinking about the rhythm and how this pipe would flow. I'm also thinking about what is going to be around this piping, like how this piping is being built. So I'm thinking about like brackets and like other panels that would help support the pipe. And because I do have lots of complex shapes in one area, I'm gonna leave the left panel as simple as I can, but still adding in the SciFi cut lines. And again, going back into our checklist, I'm adding more vents. And honestly, this part is just a lot of fun. It's pretty therapeutic. It's more like a shape exercise. Yeah, just going ahead, repeating the little notches, adding some form to that pipe. And just merging the layers together, just to make sure that I have a clean working file. Yeah, the moment I saw that I had the two panels side by side, it felt too similar because of that bottom vent, so I immediately erased it. So again, repeating the process, but this time, now I'm trying to move the 45 angle to a different side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start making the braces for these panels. Just getting that, you know, that typical sci-fi like 45-degree angled brace. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that, adding some bevels within the top sides. I'm gonna go ahead and add a few like vents. As I'm adding those vents too, I'm like paying attention to where I want my details, like my detail areas to be. I don't want it to compete everywhere, so I'm putting it on the lower, like the lower third. And I made that cut line to establish that lower third. So I'm gonna go ahead and add more beveling to the edges, just touching some stuff up. Gonna go ahead and clean up the layers. And I kind of want to make a garage door for this, so I just went ahead and grabbed a piece, duplicated it, and it kind of gives it that garage type of, you know, sliding door. And it's really cool because you could, just based off of orientation and how the pieces are put together, it could completely look something different. So right now I want to make a dedicated pipe, like a pipe design. So I'm gonna go ahead and make like a more unique like piping asset. And again, just looking at the big, medium, and small, adding some form to the main pipe. Yeah, I noticed that the length was almost too similar to the thicker pipe, so I'm gonna go ahead and elongate the medium pipe. All right, so now going down the list, I see that we're missing some windows, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with a window asset. Always starting off with the big shapes first. Now getting into the medium shapes, like getting that 45-degree angle. Now adding the smalls. So it's always like this repetitive like process, even within just making like a smaller asset like this window. I'm always constantly looking at what's the big and what's the small, and I'm tackling it with big, medium, and small in that order. Adding a little bit of detail. All right, now I'm going to duplicate one section of the same brace. want to see if I could make another asset from this, adding some more cut lines within the brace. And I cut it in half because I know that I'm going to mirror it. So I just want to work on one half first. Then I'm going to duplicate it so it can be symmetrical. Adding the notches. Right now, I just want to organize my sheet so I have some room to draw. Now I'm going to go ahead and start drawing in some pipes. And with the pipes, I'm looking at gestures and overlaps for this one. So right now I'm just trying to follow the first same gesture that I made, and I'm also thinking about how are these pipes overlapping, wrapping around. And right now I'm adding some form indication so we know what direction those pipes are going into. And I'm also varying up the widths of these pipes as well. And again, big, medium, small, big, medium, small. Throughout this whole video, it's going to be a repetitive thing, which is good because hopefully it could be a reoccurring thought when you guys are making your own designs. So just big, medium, small. Right now I'm going to make an asset for a street lamp. I'm gonna go ahead and take part of that garage door, and I actually want to make a vent. So again, it's like that same idea of, at first it may look like one thing, but you could totally change it into a different subject matter based off of orientation, size. And that's what's so cool about just reusing or repurposing your existing designs, and it speeds up the process. So right now I kind of want to make a brace because I know that eventually we're going to be doing signs. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe if we could create a brace asset, it's going to go by a lot quicker. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the little details for this antenna. And then going down the list, I'm going to go ahead and start making this steam. I love playing with these steam rhythms. Making sure that I'm following the rhythm. And I want to have the steam to point back at us, so I'm looping back that rhythm. Trying to get that good gesture. And ultimately, I'm just breaking up anything that seems repetitive, because especially with organic shapes, there's nothing, you're not going to find repetition in organic shapes. So breaking up those shapes into different sizes is necessary. So I'm trying to break that repetitious rhythm. It's like thinking about overlap for this one. Yeah, I noticed that those shapes on the bottom were getting a bit too repetitive. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a cylindrical, or not a cylindrical, but a circle vent. And I know that I'm going to be using a lot of circles in the piece, so I also just like to have a stroked circle. So what I would do is I'll marquee the circle and then just stroke it. Stroke it with like a 3 to 4 point pixel width. So right here, I'm just making that circle asset, reusing the rectangle filter, and also I was duplicating that circle just to save it, because I had a feeling that I was going to use that I'm going to be using a circle asset later on. So right now I am creating some windows with 45-degree angles. And it's always good to have like these repetitive assets ready to go. And here we go. This is the texture sheet. Let's go ahead and get on to the refinement stage. All right, so let's go ahead and make a new canvas, 17 by 11. I'm gonna go ahead and move over the asset sheet to the other screen. Gonna recenter this canvas. And I'm gonna go ahead and drop in the selected screenshot. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my perspective grid. I'm gonna go ahead and lay in the first vanishing point. I'm gonna start looking for the horizon line. And as long as I match the horizon line, should be good. Gonna go ahead and line it up. Gonna duplicate my other vanishing point. And I'm gonna go ahead and flip it and transform it. I'm gonna invert the color so it's a lot easier to see. Gonna group it in a folder, lower the opacity, and then make a new layer and start drawing. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and start with the bigger shapes. and just drawing in the panels. Just want to make sure that I get all the big simple shapes first, and then I'm going to go ahead and use an asset sheet and start implementing the bigger panels from the asset sheet. And I realized it wasn't working at all, so I went ahead and started going back to keeping it simple. Because sometimes going into your drawing with more detailed assets could actually ruin the drawing or ruin your design. So right now I'm thinking about certain beveling. I'm also thinking about, how is this building being made? How is it being made? Like, I'm looking at the structure of it, so thinking about the framing. Right now I'm adding in some beveling in the back. And then I started to think about, okay, I need to have some scale. I want to make sure that the scale of this building is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and add a quick human sketch for scale. Then I'm going to go ahead and add another subdivision. And then I'm going to add some windows. And I want to go ahead and duplicate that framing. Make sure that the structure is sitting correctly. Can I line it up? Just matching the perspective. I'm going to go ahead and copy the same opening. And I'm going to go ahead and just align it. Making sure that the perspective is correct. And then I want to show more of the form. So I'm going to draw into the volume of the shape. Just establishing some panels for all the sides. And as I'm drawing this, I'm also paying attention to that human scale. And then I want to make a more interesting negative shape in the back, so I went ahead and cut into the back shape and adding more polygons or primitives into the back area. So I'm establishing my big, medium, and small primitives. I'm going to go ahead and finish the wall, the outer wall, and also continue the framing, the structure frame. Making sure that we can see the top side of that frame. And yeah, what I like to do is flip the canvas just to see if I'm missing anything or if anything looks out of place. And I'm gonna go ahead and start drawing the framing, the outer framing. Just making sure that I get all my big shapes in first. Nice. I'm looking at this back shape and I actually don't like how all the shapes look too even. So I just want to vary it up, breaking it into smaller shapes. Drawing in the top planes. Making sure that the human scale looks correctly. So I duplicated it just to see if it works. Yeah, and I realized that my scale is off, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the human scale smaller. So right now I think that the original human scale is off, so I went ahead and adjusted it. And that's what's so great, because you could go ahead and go back and forth and adjust as you go, so it's not always set in stone. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the outer wall. And then just get into the outer brace, the outer building brace. And again, just focusing on the big shapes first. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start going back into the main walls. I wanna fix that frame because it just looks a tad bit off. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more form cut lines. Gonna go in fixing the outer brace. Flipping the canvas just to see what I'm missing. And I'm gonna add a sidewalk. And this is a good a good secondary shape to help us have the building be set in the environment. I'll go ahead and add in some details on the bottom base. I want to make like a more like this structure where you can see the windows. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the 45 windows. And I'm just testing it to see if this works. I didn't like the spacing over there, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. gonna make sure that my layers are put together. I'm gonna go ahead and add in that frame. Just duplicating on the other side, adding the windows again. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the asset sheet and start laying that door. And it just looked kind of awkward, so I didn't put it in. Ended up just taking it out. Now I want to go ahead and lay in the structure, the inner structure, and just adding in my own door. Adding more details in, making sure that I have just adding more volume to like the top section of the structure. And I want to make it like different kinds of kiosks within this building, or like different kinds of stores. I'm just pronouncing the kind of like the awning. I'm gonna go ahead and add more panels on the outside. And I wanna do something with this silhouette, because I wanna overlap the main building with the building's brace. So just maybe adding these kind of like air vents. They could also be a good tool to show depth because of the overlap. So now I'm going to go ahead back to the texture sheet, going to grab some pipes, and I'm going to go ahead and lay them down on the backside. So this is when I'm starting to think, okay, where am I going to lay in my details? So I'm already trying to establish where my main detail areas are going to be, like zoning certain areas out. And right here, I'm just trying to implement it into the main building. But I'm also being cautious that I'm putting it in selective areas. I'm gonna go ahead and get our pipe asset, and then I went ahead and did a hard ground smudge, just to smudge it across, duplicating people for scale. And these people are not gonna be in my drawing, but it's good to have scale indications to help you design accurately. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just use the window, because I really like the border of it, and just use it as a texture for the larger panels. And again, see, this is what's so great about having these assets, is because just because you've established it to be a specific item, you can still use it for anything else. So I want to break out the silhouette, and I went ahead and duplicated the AC vents to pop out that silhouette. And now I'm going back into the backside and doing the same thing to what I did on the left. I'm gonna go ahead and address that silhouette. So my main focus on this portion is to have like a more high density of detail. And over here, I'm just trying to address more of the clarity and shape of these pipes. So right now I'm drawing in the form. And I'm gonna go ahead and add that ellipse because I wanna show that there's this other simplistic form that is being contrasted with all this detail. So that's why I went with this specific shape, because I want to break. I also want to give it, like our eyes, a break from all this chaotic detail. I'm gonna go ahead and give it, the classic sci-fi cut lines. Gonna duplicate the pipes. I'm gonna use a hard round smudge tool just to vary it up, because I also don't want it to make it look like it's just copied and paste. Gonna add in another shape. Just flipping around the canvas to see if anything could be adjusted. I kind of like that little accident of that line just poking out. So I just went ahead and kept it. I'm gonna go ahead and take that same pipe and repeat it elsewhere. And just by adjusting the orientation, it looks like it's a different pipe, but now set into the environment without it being foreign, because we already have the same shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the vents from our texture sheet. And I just wanna test it out to see if this is gonna work. So I'm gonna add another bevel to give it dimension, just following perspective. And I'm not too sure if this is gonna work, but we're just gonna go ahead and test it out. It's gonna add a frame around it and some supports. Let's give it some nice bevel. Adding the supports again. Gonna go ahead and duplicate it and see if the entrance point looks good. Rotating the canvas just to see if it works. Seems like it's getting somewhere. I want it to pop out, so that's why you saw me like moving it forward. I realized I need to adjust the scale, so I'm gonna shrink it down a bit. And I like it, so we're gonna go ahead and go for it. I'm gonna add in the top plane to show its thickness. And I'm gonna start moving on to the left side, the left building, adding in more forms, putting in the door. So now I'm focusing on this bottom section, repeating the 45 angles. cleaning up the pipe. So I want to put just like another indent of that panel, so then the pipes feel like they're being put into the building. And I like doing this because it also mimics the rhythm. So right now I'm adjusting the silhouette of the pipe. And I'm going to go ahead and finish off the side of the building. But I want to break up that silhouette. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a cube to really give off that breakup. I'm going to add in like a sign that is angled towards the bottom, because we're going to have like some ads that really direct towards the people. And I also think it's like a really good or really interesting silhouette pop, just having that angled signage. Flipping the canvas to see if it works. Gonna go ahead and I feel like something is missing in the front, so I'm gonna go ahead and try something out. Maybe we could indent the shape, so it's kind of like a angled pushed in panel. I'm gonna go ahead and add like another box within it. Maybe this is like where the connections are. I'm gonna go ahead and do a framing around that opening. And I kind of want to give it a characteristic, so I went ahead to that design where it just cuts across vertically. Yeah, I was thinking about it might be a little bit too much, so I went ahead and toned it down. So I wanted to add another shape. Because I just want to break off from that simple silhouette. Yeah, I realized that those vents were sticking out too much. Cleaning up the edges, making sure that the overlap was clear. So that's why I erased that side. Adding in another smaller shape. And like, I'm adding in, again, like just insetting that shape into the structure. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in the windows, the window texture, because I want to give it a little bit more detail, more concentrated detail in this area. I want to still play up that, like the 3 stores in each floor. So I'm gonna go ahead and make another indent to show that there's a store within this floor. I'm gonna go ahead and organize my layers, because it's always good to minimize those layers. It could get chaotic really fast if you don't. So I'm gonna copy paste the same frame and adjust it in perspective. I'm gonna go ahead and pop out that frame as well. It kind of seems like it's just been slapped on. So I just wanna give it more depth. So I wanna pop out that frame. Cool, so I'm gonna make sure I pronounce that edge. Make sure that they're aligning in perspective correctly. I'm going to go ahead and add in more cut lines. I wanted to repeat that cylindrical shape onto the top. And I totally realized that that perspective was not working, so I'm just going to go ahead and redo it just using the original asset. Yeah, that looks so much better. So now we're in the proper perspective. I'm going to go ahead and grab our window texture, just duplicating it, trying to see where I could fit this, because I want to add in more scale. I think what I'm missing here is selling out that scale. I'm going to go ahead and finish off that back piece, the top back piece. I'm going to grab the pipes from our asset sheet, rotate it and distort it to make it look different. And that's what's so cool. It's just different orientation, different scale. You can make the same thing look different. It's awesome. Yeah, I felt like it was missing a smaller piece, so I'm going to continue that rhythm, following the form of the frame. And if you notice that I'm bouncing around, I'm actually trying to figure out, like if I get stuck in one area, I don't try to like consistently try to finish. that area, I would try to move on, figure out another area, then come back. So right now you see me lowering the opacity, and right now I'm adding in these signs, like signage, other details on top. So it's kind of like having a transparent paper on top of your drawing. And I'm just basically just laying things that are gonna go on top of this building. And I definitely like to work this way because it doesn't, like, I'm not afraid to draw on top, and I'm not afraid that, oh, I need to erase all the lines underneath, and if something doesn't work, I'm not too afraid of just drawing on top. So this method of lowering the opacity and drawing details on top is a great way to work. So I'm just adding in more details in these pockets to show scale. I still think something is missing in these top panels, so I'm trying to add something in front. I'm trying out maybe the signage is big billboard, but yeah, I'm just trying to like make it seem like it's gonna fit into the scene just correctly. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate the inner structure to the top. I'm also adjusting what's inside because, again, don't want to have same copy paste design. And I'm really trying to see if I could find any shapes that pop out of that container. I don't want all the shapes to be within that container, so I went ahead and add more like antennas that stick out of that inset container. Just following the form, making sure that the rhythms are going back into space. Just adding more overlap geometry. And honestly, that's all it is. I'm just focusing on shape. So I went back to the front panel and I realized having a big billboard like that definitely does not sell off the scale that well. So I went ahead and cut it down, made a smaller sign. Now I'm really trying to pay attention to silhouette over here. So adding a sign that pops out of the main building would definitely help sell that overlap. Just trying to see if this sign fits better anywhere else, but I ended up committing it to this location. Trying to see what I can do to pop out the silhouette. Because I see that we have a lot of smaller shapes. I want to see if we could add in some more medium shapes. Really just to contrast the smaller shapes that we already have. So adding the brace from the signage. Gonna make sure that the forms are reading correctly. So I wanted to play with the idea of what if this sign is just in front of this brace, and because it is a shanty building, a lot of these objects are going to be placed haphazardly, like very chaotic. Now I'm just adding like some supports that go back into the building brace. Adding smaller signs next to this bigger one to show scale. Now I'm gonna go ahead and see where else I could find, where I could put signage. And over here, you can see me just quickly laying in the signs to see if it looks good before I start committing into a more refined line. So I like the scale of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and commit to it. Yeah, I want something in front of the first floor. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this angled billboard. And I was just thinking that angled billboards are, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like when you have people walking into this huge, gigantic structure, the closer you are to those signs that are not facing downward, you can't see the ads. So having a tilted billboard would make it easier for people to look at. So right now, I really think that I was not hitting the scale correctly. So I went ahead and made even smaller vents, like AC units. And I think adding these identifiable elements will definitely help sell the scale. Go ahead and adding in smaller signages. Maybe adding some like mini bins or vending machines, trash cans. So you can see me really tackling scale in this phase. And just repeating it on the other side. Adding the framing. Just adjusting the vents into right perspective. Making sure all my layers are setting correctly. I'm trying to find any opportunity to put these vents. I'm gonna go ahead and add more boxes on top to break off that silhouette. And again, just thinking about big, medium, and small. I'm also thinking about grouping these shapes in a more interesting way. So now I'm gonna add in this sign like emitter. It's kind of like where this emitter emits like this holographic sign. Adding in some more boxes that represent like vending machines or bins. Gonna go ahead and add in more signage in the front, fixing the perspective, of the front sign. Checking to see my layers are all organized. I'm gonna go ahead and combine it all together. Gonna go ahead and drop that opacity down of the 3D model so I can get a better look of the drawing. Gonna add more signage on top, and again, just reusing what we just made. And I love using this part because we know that the form language is gonna be correct because we're literally just taking whatever works and we're just changing it. So now we don't even need to worry if it's gonna fit within the form language because we're literally using the form language. And I think that technique is really helpful. Grabbing the sign for this one, gonna duplicate, changing up the scale. Gonna fix perspective on that bottom edge. And adding in a smaller sign. Still want to add something in the front, so I'm going to try to put in some panels, but I don't know, I'm not feeling that one. I try to do it horizontally as well, and definitely not feeling that either. So I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more simple, have some simple paneling. I'm gonna go ahead and add more of the cut lines on the building brace. It's pretty cool. Seems like the building's coming along. Now I'm just doing some double checking, erasing some lines that need overlap. Gonna go ahead to the asset sheet, bring out the lamps, the street lamps. Gonna plop that into perspective. And then go ahead and duplicate on the other side. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take away our human scales, adding in some more detail on the sidewalk. Now I'm starting to implement like a border around our building. Also adding a door for our entrance to the middle shop. Adding more form to the top of our middle shop. Want to add like a beveled edge with the 45 angle. And also doing it to the building as well. Now I'm just trying to clean up the pipe area, making sure all the overlaps are working and the shapes are clear. Right now it's being a little bit of a mess. I just want to add a cap to that building just to pop the silhouette. And again, I'm kind of treating it also like a painting too, where I'm squinting my eyes and I'm trying to see if any of these shapes are readable and clear. Like I'm not even too focused on what the actual object is, but I'm more focused on readability and an interesting silhouette. And then replacing those placeholders with actual antennas. And then now I'm going to go ahead and dress the street lamps, giving it more form. And just adding a different base into a different direction. I felt like having the base in the same direction just made the asset look too flat. Now I'm just trying to add like a little base for our street lamp. Just making sure that the scale is correct. Now I'm just checking to see if it looks good. Gonna go ahead and reuse the same sign. And again, just trying to find an opportunity to break away from that silhouette. gonna go ahead and take an asset of the steam and like just implement it. And this is me just loosely placing where the steam should go. So right now it's very copy and paste, but I just want to see how it looks first. So I'm just laying it in loosely. And I'm adjusting it. And I'm still trying to keep in mind the big, medium, and smalls. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate it on top. And now I'm gonna start to change up the shape. Just really paying attention to the silhouette of the steam. Adding more breakups in the smalls. I didn't really like that shape, so I'm gonna go ahead and erase that. I think there needs to be more variation in the large, so I went ahead and tried to see if maybe enlarging this bottom steam would work out. I'm gonna go ahead and erase the steam to show clear overlaps, and I'm just gonna warp it a bit too. Gonna show more overlap in that form. I'm gonna go ahead and merge my layers. Always double checking on the layer management. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up some overlaps, uncleared overlaps. And I want the steam to pop out in front, so I'm erasing the back pipes. Gonna go ahead and duplicate the steam. And I want to show that there's maybe like, you know, steam coming out of the vents from the floor, like the sewage. Gonna go ahead and duplicate in the back. Just resizing the steam, bringing it back to scale. Yeah, I felt like the steam overall is just getting a little bit too large. I'm gonna go ahead and make that overlap clear. So at this point, it's just making sure that all the overlaps are like communicated clearly. So it's kind of like doing an overlap pass, a cleanup overlap pass. Gonna bring in some more detail. Like I think the front really is missing something more iconic. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the pipe detail, but I'm just using it as a point of interest. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that transparent technique. I'm just really trying to figure out how can I implement this detail correctly. Just setting it into perspective. I'm just trying to find other ways where I can implement it into the building, because it's always good to repeat a certain element elsewhere so it feels like it belongs. Because if you have one specific interesting element, which is good to have, if you want to draw attention, but if you want it to be a little bit more subdued, it's definitely better to repeat it elsewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean up some unwanted overlaps. Gonna bring back some cut lines to the walls. And like adding cut lines is great because it shows form. And just matching the perspective of the cut line. Just cleaning up some overlap lines, making sure it follows the perspective of the panel. Just adding more detail to the brace. Doing some cleanup in the front of the sign. Nice, just now adding in detail to the inside. And like now I'm just repeating it in the front. Yeah, and I'm starting to like this a lot better because it's not too obstructive and it's not too much detail where it's chaotic. I'm trying to find a place for this vent somewhere. sizing it up for the scale. And right now I'm darkening the brace edge because it's kind of getting lost. And it's really easy to overdo it and have a very messy design. So making sure that you're balancing the simple and complex, even though if your building itself is complex, even in that category, you could break it down into simple and complex. And right now I'm making sure that the front panels are simple while the inset spaces are filled with more detail. So even though this building design is complex itself, there is still a hierarchy of simple versus complex. Now I'm just like adding in cut lines that would help support that vent, and that's why you see me mimicking the rhythm of that vent. The way how I see it is kind of like you have your main, stars in a movie, and then you have a supporting cast. So having those cut lines that go around the quote unquote star of the movie is always good to have. It's always good to have like a supporting cast. And those lines to me kind of represent like a supporting cast. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into my texture sheet to make signs. So I'm going over here and just looking for a nice sci-fi font, and you could totally just download this on the internet. And this part is just so fun. This is like where you're putting more of the sprinkles on top, just making random sci-fi type of names. And of course we got the foundation group. Just totally random names. So right now I am control clicking on the selection of the type, and I'm stroking it. And I believe I'm doing a 4 pixel stroke. And right where I set up the sign frame, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the sign and fit it into perspective. And I'm still keeping in mind scale, because if I made that sign a lot larger, then automatically this whole building is gonna start to feel smaller. Because we also got to imagine, like, how big are these signs, right? If this building is huge, the signs themselves need to be smaller. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you could only have small signs, but you're not going to see many big signs, because it's going to take a lot of resources to make a large sign like that. So sticking to a smaller sign would fit the scale better. So I'm going to go ahead and add some cut lines to the supports. I realized that the sign could be better, could be pronounced better, so I enlarged it just a little bit. So now we're gonna go ahead and get into the black accents. I'm gonna first start off by separating the middle building to the brace, to the building brace. And then right now I'm just really just using the black accents to separate the shapes. So anything that normally would overlap, that's where I would hit it with the black accents. And just by this simple technique, you could already start to see a really nice separation of all these shapes. So like over here on the signs, you can see that I'm adding more black accents, and also underneath any crevice. And I'm also looking at rhythm when I'm doing these black accents as well. So anything that kind of has a nice flow, I'm also following that flow. And this technique is really cool because I could also push and pull shapes even just with this black accent. Since this is a more concentrated area of detail, I'm putting a little bit more smaller black accents, especially in the back over here with all the pipes. So just hitting all the corners and any of the underside as well. So I really want to pronounce some of those shapes in the first level. And even in my black accents, I'm also thinking about big, medium, and small. And since I noticed that I had a lot of smalls, I'm now going back to the bigger shapes for the black accents. And over here, I definitely felt like there should have been a bigger shape, and hitting it with a bigger accent helps really sell the depth. And it's really cool because now I could create more shapes within the black accents. So now I'm hitting all the back sides with all the pipes. And now I'm actually going back to the line drawing, and I realized that I could do a bit better in terms of the cut lines for the brace. I'm gonna go ahead and add that back in. And at this point, I'm going back and forth with the black accents and also drawing in like other things that I'm missing. So there's always time to go back and fix whatever you've missed. Doing a double check. Now I realized that my composition of the overall canvas isn't working, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust it. Yeah, earlier I felt like the canvas itself was too wide, leaving a lot of open space. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and lasso the building, and we're basically going to throw in a black background to really pop out the silhouette of this whole sci-fi shanty building. And as you can see over here, this is, your typical just outlining lasso tool. And this is a good opportunity to like clean up your silhouette. And if you notice, like off the bat, just putting in that black background definitely helps with the read. And the reason why I like doing this too is because I'm like really inspired by Akira and like the way how Otomo does his manga stuff. So this is something that I'm taking from his work. So I'm gonna go back in and fill in with the smaller shapes. So even when I'm doing this phase of the process, I'm still going from big to small. In every single phase, I'm always going big to small. Now I'm just cleaning up the lettering, making sure it looks good. And now I'm gonna go ahead and drop in my shading template. And this is something that you could totally, find online. It's basically a sheet of dots that are in a like all spaced out fairly closely. So what I'm doing right now is I've actually made my own, where I've created this sheet already, and I'm just masking, throwing a mask on top of the whole layer, and now I'm just hitting all the side planes. So anywhere where light is not going to really touch, because now the light is coming from the front, I'm just hitting all the side planes. And this already helps separate all the forms. And especially since we have a complex building with a lot of detail, this definitely helps sell the shapes. And over here, I'm just cleaning up some more black accents. And then I'm doing a little gradient in the back. So I'm taking a texture brush and I'm softly just laying it all in, bringing back the horizon line. And there you go, our finished drawing. I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking a look at this tutorial, and if you want to learn more, you could check out my other tutorials in the foundation group. You could also follow me on social media. Thank you so much again, and have a good one.